time is the most expensive commodity you could ever spend. Like money is gold, silver, it's your time. When you realize that your time is gonna go away, 100% of the people die. That's just proven fact. Everybody dies. And so people say that, and I agree that time is the most expensive commodity you'll ever spend. But what's even more expensive that is the culmination of your time here on this earth, which is your life. If you spend your life working for somebody else or going on a path that's not actually going to be fulfilling to you in the end, in the long run, then you've spent your life, and it was hopefully a waste. Or hopefully not, but it is a wasted life if you go after the wrong things. And so what I started realizing a long time ago, that I wanted freedom of time. That was the number one thing. Now, there's
Mhm.
two things I'll get to. So one I'll get to in a secondary is delayed gratification. That's how I got to where I am. But first, before that, you're 100% right that money is just a means to an end. The end for me is freedom in my life, time freedom, money freedom, to not have to worry about money or bills ever again. But here's what really leads into another. And you have to, they don't say have to, but it's good when you build it this way. So you need to have a money freedom in your life, and you work hard to eventually, hopefully, get, let's say you get like 10 rental properties and they're cash flowing, and then you have money that comes in. You don't have to work. That then allows you to have a time freedom. So money freedom leads into a time freedom. And then that time freedom, you can do whatever you want, but you also have the money to help you to do whatever you want with your time. But then that time, sometimes you might have some damaged relationships along the way because you worked so hard to get to where you are. Then that time freedom leads into a relationship freedom where you go back and you start building up all those relations. Maybe it's your kids, maybe it's your spouse or parents or whatever it might be. You shore up and get those relationships solid. So the money leads into time, time leads into relationships. And the last one is where you and I both live in, which is amazing, is relationships lead into service. When you start
Mm.
serving people, and I'm going to tell everybody. So for you listening, I'm going to tell you this. You're going to understand it. You're going to comprehend it, but you're not going to completely get it. And I'll give the example. Let's say, or this happened to me. So my brother had his kid before we had kids, and I was looking at his son. I was like, "Oh man, I love him like my own." He said, "No, you don't." I said, "What do you mean? Of course I do. This is my nephew." You just don't understand that when you have a child and you're a parent, it's a different, you don't even comprehend that feeling. You might understand what it should be. You don't have that feeling though. Same thing with service. I've always heard lots of people talk about you should serve a lot of people. The more people you serve, the more money they make, the more money you make, and everybody wins. I thought that's a great thing, but I did not get it until I started living in it.
Mm.
And now I realize that the more people that I serve, honestly, I make so much more money. But here's the key thing: when you're serving somebody else, you're not taking from them. It's not like they're losing, you're winning. You're both winning, and they're
Yeah.
getting what they want. You're getting what you want. Like if I buy a single family home and I give a tenant a decent rent, it's not exorbitant, they have a great place to live in, then we're both winning. It's a mutually beneficial thing. And so what we need to move to as fast as you can, for you listening, as fast as you can, you want to get into the service aspect. Now it does take money, time, relationships to get into service. You can jump right into service, but that's how I prioritize things. Is I went that route in life. Now quickly, I'll jump into the delayed gratification. And this is how I got here. I won't say as fast as I did because people have done it faster, but like in the time frame that I went through, it was
Mhm.
delayed gratification. So when you're thinking, okay, finances, your health, relationships, all those sort of things, a lot of people think I'm going to compartmentalize and okay, I need to make my family the highest priority, which is not bad. I'm not saying it's bad, but to the detriment of other things. And so what I didn't do was do that. I didn't focus, okay, just the work to the detriment of the family, to the detriment of health or whatever. I made sure that as best as I could, I knew the number one thing that I needed in my life was to be able to provide for my family. So, which was money, which was the investing. So I would I don't know, let's venture to say 70% down that route, like really, really hard. But at the same time, when I didn't have time, I still made myself go to the gym. I still
Mm.
made myself hang out with my family. I still made myself not watch TV, not go on vacations, not spend money, because delayed gratification. The longer I put off something that's good right now, if I put it off for, let's say 5 years from now, 3 years from now, however long it is away, it's going to be so much better because of working hard right now to make my life even better in the future. And so I would wake up at 4:30 every morning. I still worked a job. I still have, well, I'll tell you that. So I wake up at 4:30 every single morning, get to the gym by 5 o'clock. I was doing CrossFit, 5 to 6. And then 6 o'clock rolls around, jump in the shower real quick, get to my business. I had a business at the same time, working a job. By 7 o'clock, I'd open the business, get the employees going, and then I go to my job by 7:30. Then I work all day, and then I would go back home, not home, sorry, go back to my business, close down the business, and then go home. And in the meantime, on my lunch break, on my breaks, or driving, I would be investing. I'd be focusing on doing the things that can make me have financial freedom. But then I go home, kiss my wife and kids, go to bed by 9 o'clock because I'm tired, and then go do the same thing over and over again. I did that for 5 years, constantly for 5 years. And it's the reason why I saw the light at the end of the tunnel of this hard work that I'm putting in now, that now for the last 10 years, I haven't had a job, which has been amazing. And I'm like, I don't have an alarm clock to wake up to. I don't have a boss that I have to ask for vacation time. I have plenty of money to do whatever I want. And now I can just serve people. But it was that delayed gratification, putting off for the future, even like good things now, but putting it off for the future. Like I didn't go on vacations for 5 years. We ate, I think, like top ramen or macaroni and cheese, or we didn't spend money because every penny that did not go to a property was another minute, 10 minutes, hour, weeks later for me not being able to quit my job. Does that all make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's a part that it's hard for people to hear, that, there is it's not like you push a button and you get rich overnight. But if you, to your point, if you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, it makes it worthwhile. And it's not always going to be a perfect balance, but it frees you up to have a lot more balance if you can focus in the beginning. So one other thing too that you mentioned that I thought was interesting, that I think people, maybe not everyone has this mindset of, when you help people, we're talking about used to, or people would view it as competition in a lot of cases. I think a lot of people don't recognize that the pie can actually get bigger as you're assisting people. It's not that now they have a bigger cut of the pie than you do. Like before it was 50-50. Now they have 75 and you only have 25% of the pie. The pie just got a lot bigger because like their knowledge expanded. Your ability to do different things has expanded because you now have a partner and a new relationship. And that leads to new partners and new relationships and more impact that you can have. And it just consistently gets bigger. That's that difference between the abundance versus fixed mindset. And it's hard to wrap your head around in the beginning if that's not your mindset. But I'd encourage people to maybe go back and re-listen to this section again that you just went through, because I think that's exactly it. It's just like everybody benefits when you start supporting other people's goals.
One thing that I hear too, and I absolutely think, then you're 100% right, that it doesn't have to be the detriment of somebody else. But one pushback that I do get when not on the service, but like in helping other people, but in my work ethic or how hard I work or what the quote unquote sacrifice, which it's just a sacrifice because you're telling yourself it's a sacrifice. Instead of saying, I have to do this, or I have to go to work, or I have to pick up my kids from, the bus stop, or I have to do, imagine if you could, like you're thinking, I have to go pick up my kids. Well, that's a bad perspective. What if you could never pick up your kids? What if your kids were gone, God forbid, and you couldn't? Then you would say, oh my goodness, that's a horrible hole in my life. Now you should be saying, I get to pick up my kids. I get to go to school. Go to school. Yeah, if you go to school, but you'll go to the gym, or I get to go to work. I get to whatever it might be. If you have that different perspective, life of abundance, life that life's or world's not out to crush you or get you, but maybe it's there to, the pie gets bigger. I love that idea. If you start having that perspective, I get to do this, then honestly, you will enjoy it more, number one, but then you also probably do better at whatever it is that you're doing. Be present there. Maybe it's working, maybe it's investing, whatever. If you realize I get to do this, then you do so much better. One other quick last thing that I'll share that people push back on my work ethic or, how much I work. They said, well, Dustin, like, how did you have how did you have so much time? I don't have that time to do that. I said,
Mm-hmm.
well, I had 24 hours in a day. How many hours do you have? Oh, exactly. We all have
Yeah.
24 hours a day to do whatever it is. It's not that you don't have the time. It's you don't make the time. It's just, that's really what it comes down to. And I do, I love this quote, and it's from Arnold Schwarzenegger. He said something awesome. People say, how do I do this? I don't have any time. He says, well, we only have 24 hours. Sleep faster. I was like, I'll sleep faster. Okay. And I would sleep maybe 5.5 hours, maybe 6 hours at most, and get back to work. And maybe on the weekends, I would sleep a little longer, whatever. But we all have the same amount of hours in the day. We all have the same laws that are against us, that are for us, and all that sort of stuff. And so we just need to apply the things that, if you're listening to Living Off Rental, the podcast, and you haven't taken action, like I know you're coming back listening every single week, listen to Kirby, growing. You need to also take action, because if you're not going to take action, if you're not going to actually do it, and you're just listening, you're not going to change your life. And so you need to take that action, sleep faster, have delayed gratification, all the above. But that's how I've gotten to where I am.
Yeah. Wow. That's really good. And that actually made me think of something as you're describing that, and the perspective, because you're talking about like having a different perspective. Like, what if your kids didn't exist? Like, there's people who have tried for years to have kids, and they don't have kids, and you're like complaining that, you have to like wake up with them, or, like drive them around or whatever it is. And one thing that I do that's kind of a tactical hack, I guess, that has really worked for me is I love reading about other people's journeys that have been really tough. So I don't know if you ever read Man's Search for Meaning.
No, I haven't.
Amazing book. Dr. Viktor Frankl, he wrote this book. He was in a concentration camp. His whole family was executed, and he wrote. He developed a whole mindset around how he survived concentration
I'm ordering it
camps.
right now. Viktor Frankl found it.
Cool. Another one that I just read. So I read that one years ago, but one I just read is Escape from Camp 14. So it's about the only North Korean to escape from these basically death camps that he was born into, planned. It was going to be a whole life of just labor until he died, and he was the only one.
What was it called again?
Escape from Camp 14. So, books like this, where you like, it's hard to like even go back to your day-to-day life after reading books like this, because you see people then who complain about like, oh, it was hard to wake up this morning, or it was like, man, it's cold outside, and it's like, dude, there's somebody who literally is tortured 24/7 his whole life, and like now he's on the other side of that, and like you're complaining about like these little things that you have. So I read those things, and it's incredible like how much more motivated I am to like get to work and like, structure a life of meaning, because like we can, like, it's just such a blessing. So perspective.
You said one word just now that I changed and to help me keep going in that direction of being grateful or being joyful or having gratitude in general. You said one word that I now switched in the last maybe 3 years. So whenever anybody would ask, how are you doing? How's it going? That's the first quick thing. How's it going? Usually I say, oh, I'm fine, or everything's going well, or, something like that. I changed it to where I say, well, I'm blessed. I'm blessed. That's really all I'm above the ground, which means I'm not dead.
Yeah.
I'm breathing. I can walk, I can talk. There's so many grateful things that you can have in your mind that you can be grateful for.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking of even more abundance. If you start thinking about the negative things in your life, then that's always going to draw you away. And one quick thing I say with the blessing. So my wife and I married, 20 years coming up here in May.
Nice.
5
Congrats.
kids. Thank you. We're very, very blessed. We've also, at our church, we've done lots of marriage counseling with people or for people. And there's one thing that I try to do every time I'm counseling somebody, or if I do a big conference or like some sort of event with a bunch of married couples, trying to help them to, grow in their marriage. I say, okay, here's everybody. This is what you've been waiting for. Get out a piece of paper. Let's say you got a piece of paper. Hold on, if you're watching on YouTube, you got a piece of paper. Now, your spouse is not going to look at this. Grab a pen. Everybody, like your spouse is going to write about you. You're going to write about your spouse. Write down every negative thing you can think of about your spouse. They're like, oh man, this is great. They start writing and writing, and they get like 3 or 4 lines, and then like, huh. They have to kind of think of another. Okay, here's a fourth one. They come up with a fourth one, but the list gets very short, very fast. Like they think it's a huge list, like 20, 30 things. When you boil it down, they're like, oh, there's only like 4 or 5 things, maybe at most 4. Then I say, okay, set it aside. Don't let your spouse see it. Set it aside. Now get out a new piece of paper. And now I want you to write down all the positive, all the good things about your spouse that you could come up with. And every single time, it's a list of like 30, 40. Like I run out of time. Like, okay, you got to stop writing now. Because if you just add up all these little tiny things from like, oh, my wife makes me breakfast every morning, or she makes me coffee and it sends me off, or you never know. Like everybody has little tiny things that you'd be grateful for. And then you look at the list, 30 things versus 3 or 4. It's like, well, I'm focusing on the wrong list. And then this is what I tell everybody. Okay, now this is what you need to do. Commit to yourself. It's not to me. It's not to your spouse. You're committing to yourself. Take that list of all the negative things, crumble it up, stand up, and go walk and throw it away in the trash. Go throw it away. You're making a conscious commitment to not be thinking about those things. Same thing in life in general. You're investing, your job. Get those negative things out of your mind, because that's only dragging you down as opposed to looking at the benefits. And when I did this for the first time, I made a conscious effort to not even remember what those negative things are. I'll be completely honest. I did that like, I don't know, 15 plus years ago for the first time. I don't even remember what my list was, but I do remember my list. I think I still have my list somewhere on my desk, a list of all the good things. Yeah. And so when you get rid of all the negative things, maybe your job's terrible. I completely get it. If you focus on the good things, that helps you to then go after the even better things instead of like always being drugged down.
I love that, man. Such a great practice. I mean, anyone could do that. You could just start writing a list every day. Just write a few things of what you're, what are going well, or what you love about your spouse, or what you love about your life, your business. Man, I can totally see how that could change someone's life.
You know what's also really interesting too? I heard an anecdote, but like a study done, and I started implementing this into myself, and I've seen a change. So there was a study done of, let's say, the top 100 tennis players. So, think of the top 100, there's number 1 all the way down to 100. They talked to all of them, interviewed all of them. The top 5 had something different than all the other 95 below them. The top 5 did something completely different. The other ones didn't. What was it? It was not negative self-talk, but positive self-talk in a way that it says like this. Let's say, most people, oh, that was a terrible shot. Like they swing in tennis and the ball goes off to a different direction. Oh man, that was terrible. Man, I can't believe I did that. And they start dwelling on the past as opposed to like, okay, what could have done right? And how is this next shot going to be the best shot ever in the history of shots? And they visualize it. They get their positive energy up. And honestly, I really believe I'm not a hippie at all, meaning like, I don't believe in that woo-woo type stuff, but at the same time, I've seen it work. Like when you get your mindset in a right direction of like, I'm thinking so positively, then the top 5, what they always did was they kept telling themselves and visualizing the next shot being the best shot ever, or how this next shot, I'm going to do this. And they're constantly getting a positive frame of reference, a frame of mind. And I started doing this in my Olympic lifting. I do it 5 days a week. I started thinking, because when you have technique, if you're playing tennis, or you're playing baseball, whatever sport, Olympic lifting or lifting weights, you have to have technique. And if you miss on the technique, you could hurt yourself, number 1. But number 2, you could also just not make the lift. And then I've been doing positive self-talk for the last 6 months, saying, okay, this next lift, this is going to be the best lift of the day. I'm going to get this, boom, boom, hit this right. And honestly, more often than not, it works. So what I'm trying to say is, everybody, it's not just your mindset. It's also self-talking yourself into gratitude, into this is what's going great, or this next step is going to be amazing. And I'm going to make sure that it's amazing because I'm putting all my effort towards that.